So my car turns 9 next week, and apparently she wanted to say happy birthday by making this sound. If your car is starting to get a little older like mine, or you're also having this issue, the problem originates in the electronic power steering rack right here where number 2 points at. Fortunately, this is a fairly straightforward and easy process to repair. On top of that, parts are easy to access and fairly cheap, so it's not that hard to get your hands on. I found my kit on FCP Euro for $37, but you can also get it from ECS Tuning or Turner Motorsports. In order to begin this repair, you're going to want to put your car on some jack stands and take off the dust cover. Once you've gotten your under tray off, you can find the thrust bushing cover here. Be sure to take a picture for the orientation as you'll need that for later. As mentioned previously, access to these parts is fairly easy and affordable, and you can get it from multiple sites. I'll put the part number here and we'll go through what comes in the kit. First, the thrust bushing cover. Next, the new metal bushing, a spring and the dust plug for the cover, 2 clamps for your axle boots in case you need them, and I bought installation paste to lube everything up. In addition to the install kit, I also had to buy a couple of sockets in order to put everything together. You'll need a specialty 3-pin socket, which I got from Amazon, and a 24mm socket to go on top of that, which I'll link down below. To start this repair, start by grabbing that 3-pin socket with the 24mm and break the torque on the cover. It honestly wasn't that hard because it's not torqued down that much. The issue is that there's just not a whole lot of space. I was able to do it just by connecting the socket to the ratchet, but if you need an extension, make sure it's a wobbly because the sway bar is right above. As you can see on this cover, the Teflon gasket is completely gone and is definitely needing replaced. As we take a look inside, you can see the bushing is pretty far in there. I had to use some needle nose pliers to reach in further. Fortunately for me, pulling the bushing out wasn't too difficult because the installation paste still provided some lubrication. Once you've got the bushing out, you'll want to keep note of the orientation of the opening, as when you put the new bushing in, it has to go in the same way. Here we're able to compare the difference in the old versus the new parts, where we see the new cover has its gasket while the old one is completely gone. If we take a look at the bushings, you can see that the new one has a much sturdier construction as well as 2 gaskets that surround the outside, providing a much better fitment and tighter feeling in the steering. If you notice on the new bushing, it's got these black wear bars that indicate when the bushing needs to be replaced. On the old bushing, it clearly is worn down to the plastic. Here's a good time to switch to disposable gloves as we're going to be putting the paste on all the new contact points on the new parts. Now we're going to be putting the paste on the bushing. Like I mentioned, we're putting it on all the contact points, so be sure to put some in the middle, on the wear bars, and on the back as I do later on. I also make sure to add some on the sides just so that it slides in a little bit easier. Once it's nice and lubed up, make sure to line the opening of the bushing the same way as the old one, slap that sucker in, and push down until it doesn't go in any farther. Next, we're going to put some more grease on the spring and put it on that little perch inside the bushing. Alright, so this last part was the most difficult for me. When your hands are all nice and lubed up and all your parts are just as slippery, it's difficult to push in that little rubber piece without it slipping out and falling somewhere where you can't grab it. Many installation guides say to put this in last, but I suggest saving yourself the headache and put it in now, and just use a little extra force when tightening the cover in. At the beginning of this install, I mentioned that you should have taken a picture of the cover so that you have the orientation of the pins in the right place when you put the cover back on. This is a good time to make sure that you have that picture up, as tightening it down is really a difficult process without 2 hands. Here's a side-by-side picture of my cover before and after the install, and as you can see, I got them pretty close. However, I do think I over-tightened it, as after a quick test drive, the steering wheel didn't want to come back to center as easily as before. As a result, you may have to go back and forth a few times, loosening about 1/8 of a turn each time in order to get the right steering feel. Based on reports from other forum members after doing this repair, they state that the steering should be a little bit tighter but not too tight, so much as to cause the steering rack to start binding on itself. There's a good medium between too vague and too direct where you'll find the best spot to put that bushing at. This varies from person to person and car to car, so mess around with it a little bit to your liking. In this next clip, you'll hear that I still have a little bit of a clunking, but it's not nearly to the effect as it was before. Thanks for watching Euro Fever Garage.